Welcome into another edition of Sunday Flags. I'm your host, Mason Kinnahan, and if you are watching the video version, you can tell, but today I'm going solo. No Luke Brown here today. Luke got some stuff to do on this Sunday evening, but we've still got a tournament to recap and a pretty exciting one, especially at the end as well. So the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches this week, which, is kind of sandwiched between a ton of different signature events, the players in a couple weeks as well. So Cognizant doesn't get a ton of love, and the field going into this week, definitely the weakest of the season so far. But oh boy, did we get a finish in the Palm Beaches here today, because Nico Echavarria comes back. He shoots 66-66 on the weekend to pick up a two-shot victory at the Cognizant Classic. And oh boy, the way it happened, oh man, that was a rough finish to watch for Shane Lowry, who finishes in a tie for second at 15 under. He shoots a 69 today. We'll get into his collapse. Another really just heartbreaking collapse for Shane Lowry, a guy who's been very close recently, and of course a very successful golfer, a major winner and all that. But he hasn't been able to win a solo event since 2022. And here, a chance to do it, and a really strong chance to do it as well. And it just comes crashing down on the 16th tee. We'll start, though, with Nico Echavarria, who has had some success on the PGA Tour before. He won the Zozo back in 2024. He had a runner-up at the Sony Open last year, and a couple of other top 10 finishes as well in 2025. And then to start out this year, he's played in 5 events before the Cognizant. He was cut in 4 of those events. And then in Pebble Beach, the only event that he was not cut from, he will finish tied for second. So a very odd start to the year for Mr. Nico Echavarria. But then this week, he pulls through with the victory. It was a Sunday 66, bogey-free 5 under par round. He birdies the 17th hole while witnessing the collapse of Shane Lowry to take a 2-stroke lead, and ultimately comes away with the victory. Nico has been, on the up recently. He's now a 3-time PGA Tour winner. Because he won the Puerto Rico Open and in 2023. So this is his 3rd win on the PGA Tour. He's 31 years old, and he's put together some really solid performances before, and has been a pretty consistent player, over the last year or so. Kind of been sitting in the 50s, 40s, 60s range in the OWGR rankings. I would imagine this win here today is going to help push him up those rankings quite a bit and into the top 50. Currently, he is 59th in those rankings, so that'll probably push him up quite a bit. And a pretty big win overall here in 2026 for Mr. Nico Echavarria. Again, for him this week, it really, came down to Shane Lowry and his finish and all that. But you look at, what Nico was able to do, especially today, putting, things were going really well. He gained over 2 strokes putting today. He gained a stroke and a half on approach. So a really solid performance, and definitely his second best day overall, because he got off that hot start on Thursday, where he was tied with Austin Smotherman, or not tied. He was 1 stroke back of Austin Smotherman for the lead. It was a day where it was kind of a 2-horse race. Austin Smotherman and Nico Echavarria for a good amount of time. But then, but then things happened. And, Shane Lowry came into the mix after a really strong Saturday performance. But, Nico was able to get it done. And it's a huge win for him. Was fired out of the gates with that 63, cooled off a little bit on Friday, but then it goes 66-66, 2 very consistent performances from Nico to round things out. His Saturday round was also bogey-free, so 2 bogey-free rounds, one on Saturday and one on Friday. So he didn't, in his last was it 36 holes of the tournament. He didn't have any bogeys. He had 10 birdies. Just a really solid and complete performance. He took advantage of the par fives. Today, he birdied 3, he birdied 10. So that is also pretty big. And, the shot he hit on, and then it was on 17 when, Shane Lowry is not having, the funnest of times. And then Nico sends it to 10 feet and he's able to knock it down. Just a really, really solid performance and a great closing stretch as well for Nico, who came away with the 2-stroke victory. A very impressive performance for him. And yeah, we know it was a very impressive performance for him, but a tournament that Nico probably shouldn't have won. It should have been Shane Lowry, because Lowry, after Saturday's 63, had the lead, was tied for, I believe it was tied for the lead heading into the final round, or maybe it was one stroke back, I want to say, heading into the final round. And, at one point in this one, he comes up to the 16th tee. He has a 96% chance to win this tournament, according to Data Golf, with a 3-stroke lead, and ultimately goes double on 16, double on 17, and loses by 2. A heartbreaking finish for the Irishman. You look at what happens on 16, right? Just sent his tee shot wide to the right into the water. Not a chance really on that one. And it only went 211 yards too, so really bad miss hit on that. And then he sends his approach shot, which was his third shot or fourth shot. It was his fourth shot into the bunker on the left side of the green. And then he does a good 2 putts in for a 6 on a par 4. Just not what you want to see out of a guy like Shane Lowry. He goes from 6 under on the day. He was flying through this round. A birdie on 5, a birdie on 9, an eagle on 10, a birdie on 12, and a birdie on 13. This guy was unstoppable. And then he looked like he was going to pick up his first PGA Tour win in, a long time. His last win was in 2022, but that was on the DP World Tour. He technically won, the Zurich back in 2024, but that was, with Rory. So I'm trying to find his last PGA Tour win. I don't know. He's only won twice on the tour, and the last time he won, that means he only won one. Yeah, that means he only won one solo event on the PGA Tour. So he's kind of looking for, his first win, not only just on the PGA Tour, but kind of overall in multiple years. He steps on the 17th tee, wind's moving left to right. He sends his tee shot way right. Not even a chance to get even on the green. Probably 30 or so yards just off to the right. So then he, has his drop shot. And then he 2 putts for a 5. But man, that is rough. That is a rough way to finish for Mr. Shane Lowry, who again was at 19 under par and with a 3-stroke lead heading to the 16th tee. And that goes to a 1-stroke lead. One stroke lead when it gets to the 17th tee, and then just fumbles it really at the end, and not what you want to see from a guy like him. Also tied for second, Taylor Moore as well. He goes 67, 68, 67, 67, 67, 68. Very consistent performances from Mr. Taylor Moore, and he goes a birdie on the 72nd hole to help elevate himself into this position. And then Austin Smotherman, who, similar to Nico Echavarria, went out blazing hot on Thursday, shooting a 9 under 62 at PGA National, but really cooled off down the stretch. He goes 69, 69, 69, which is, not bad, not terrible at all, but definitely cooled off a little bit. Also birdied the last to help him get into this T2 position with Lowry's implosion at the end 2 shots back of those guys, Ricky Castillo at solo 5th, and then a couple, 3 guys tied at T6, Nikolai Højgaard, William Mao, and Keith Mitchell. Brooks Koepka makes an appearance, T9 for him. A really, really strong Sunday round, 65 for Koepka. This is his best finish on the PGA Tour since, returning with the returning members program. So a really, really solid performance from him. His first 2 starts were a T56 and a missed cut, at the Farmers at Phoenix. So here at the Cognizant, a T9, which, he shot a 74 on Thursday and was in danger of missing the cut. So he goes 66 to make the cut on Friday, and then 69, 65 to just explode up the leaderboard, which is huge. Rasmus Højgaard, a T9 as well. Matty Schmidt and Joel Damon, also T9. Bunch of guys at T13, T17, a few shots back. Other notable names, Max Homa, T13 for him. He goes 69, 67 on the weekend after shooting 73. So similar boat with him and Koepka this week. Aaron Rai, T23. Hao Tong Lee, T32 for him. So a solid performance as well. Some really solid performances from some of the top guys, but again, a lot of them also missed the cut. We'll get into, our predictions, Luke and I's predictions board in a second here. But yeah, just looking over, at the leaderboard, a really impressive win from Nico Echavarria. And yes, it was definitely a weaker field. Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard were kind of the favorites. Gerard, I believe, finished, he was in danger of missing the cut. I don't know what he finished. I think it was a T23 for Gerard. So he goes 73 on Thursday. Again, in danger of missing the cut, similar to Koepka and Homa. Was able to pull through on Friday. But overall, a lot of the top names kind of elevated themselves on the weekend to get into contention. But at the end of the day, it was really a 3-horse race between Shane Lowry, Austin Smotherman, and Nico Echavarria. At one point, all these guys were tied as well, I believe, at 14 under. And then, Shane Lowry just went bonkers during the middle portion of his round to take a pretty sizable lead before imploding on 16 and 17. So pretty interesting to note there. As well, just taking a look at the FedEx Cup, I guess. Jacob Bridgman leads the way. Chris Goddard, Scotty Scheffler follow. Colin Morikawa, Jake Knapp also in there. I don't know if these are updated for the most recent ones. No, it is. Okay, so Echevarria is going to move up to number 6. Ryan Gerard still stays in the top 10. So definitely interesting to know and interesting to look at as we head to the API next week and to the players as well. So that's kind of where things stand currently. All right, let's now go to our predictions board. Again, Luke and I have a season-long kind of competition of, picking golfers each week and seeing how well they do. We've got 4 different categories, and this was our board for this week. You look at the top 50, you pick one golfer that's ranked in the top 50 in OWGR, one golfer that's not top 50, one golfer that's a past champion of that current event, or that week's event, and then one classic one-and-done pick. I have had a sizable lead throughout this season, and that lead is going to grow after this week. We'll start in the top 50 category. Luke and I both split the Højgaard twins this week. I went with Nikolai. He went with Rasmus. Nikolai gets things done for me with a T6, bringing home $324,000. Rasmus a T9 with $252,000. You look at both the Højgaard twins this week. They both started to heat up towards the end. It was a little bit of a little bit of a sweat, at least for me, to see Nikolai on Friday, battling to make the cut, but he was able to get it done. Rasmus, I believe, was pretty safely inside the cut line, but some big weekend performances from both of them to get inside the top 10. I thought we were going to be in for a stinker, at least with Nikolai for a little bit, but things got done. Now, for the not top 50 category, I did not really have a ton of great luck here. I picked Luke Clanton. He did not make any money for me this week. He was cut from this week's event. Luke went with Rasmus Nergaard Peterson, who was kind of a quiet name this week. We didn't really see a ton from him But he goes T40 at and secures $31,776. Past champion, Luke went with Chris Kirk, who did not make the cut. I went with Keith Mitchell, and this was pretty big. This was a big one for me. Keith Mitchell goes T6 with $324,000. A really solid performance from Mitchell. And hopefully, we can kind of springboard this into some better performances in the coming weeks. And finally, a classic one and done. Luke Brown went with Hao Tong Lee. I went with Sam Ryder. Sam Ryder did not make the cut this week. I was very concerned about this pick. I didn't really have a clue of where to go with this week's pick. So I went with Ryder. Did not work out. Hao Tong Lee, though, for Luke, a T32 brings in $54,816. So another kind of solid performance from Hao Tong Lee as well to bring in some money for Luke. So at the end of the day, though, even though I had two guys who did not make the cut, and Luke only had one guy who did not make the cut, I won this week by about $350,000, $300,000, about $300,000 because of the placements. Two top 6 performances. Luke had a T9, a T40, and a T32. Højgaard and Mitchell for me, again, both tied at T6. So that means I now go to $5,436,032. Luke now goes to $3,262,216 as we head into next week's signature event at the API. I have about a $2.2 million lead currently. Some other, rules that we've kind of come up with throughout this, throughout this thing that we're doing. Whoever's in the lead cannot pick Scotty Scheffler for the top 50 category, or really, I think just for the top 50 category. If you get to the one and done, or you can use them at one and done whenever you want. But at least in the top 50 category, whoever's the lead, you can't pick Scotty because that'd just be a cheat code. Also, we can't repeat any guys. So if Luke gets first choice in every category, and then I kind of follow it up with my picks. So that'll be where the board kind of stands as we head into the API next week and into the players the week after that. Two pretty big tournaments in terms of prize money that we're going to see over the next couple of weeks, which means Luke can definitely come back in this, but we'll have to wait and see where he kind of stands with that. But kind of a quick episode today because it was just myself, but that'll wrap things up here on Sunday Flags. If you want to follow any of our work, it's going to be at Sunday Flags Pod, really anywhere. SundayFlags.substack.com, at Sunday Flags Pod on Twitter, on Instagram. We'll post it over there as well. And again, you can listen to Sunday Flags wherever you get your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, really wherever. So that'll wrap things up, though, here on Sunday Flags. I've been your host, Mason Kinnahan, and we'll catch you next time.